to the Work Trends podcast from Talent Culture. I'm your host, Megan Mbiro. Every week, I interview interesting people who are reimagining work. And be sure to check out our Work Trends Twitter chat events calendar located at talentculture.com on the podcast page. Welcome, everyone, to the Talent Culture Work Trends podcast, sponsored today by Performica. I'm your host, Megan Mbiro, and today we're looking at organizational structure and creating a more inclusive and effective team. We are very excited to have a special guest, Alex Furman, co-founder and CEO of Performica, sharing his insights on this juicy topic. First things first, though, I'd like to give Alex a proper introduction and share his story. Alex Furman is co-founder and CEO of Performica, former co-founder and head of talent of Invitae. His software engineering and data science background helped him explore powerful people analytics. Alex also co-founded Cash for Refugees, delivering financial assistance to Ukrainian refugees. He's a doting dad and an amateur beekeeper. Welcome, Alex. We're so excited you're here.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
And so where are you located today?
I'm in San Francisco, California.
All right. And I'm heading there next week. I love San Francisco. It's still one of my favorite cities.
You and me both.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's get on with it. You and I have lots to unpack today. So let's dig into this topic with the first question. How do you define what a people-centric approach is within an organizational structure?
Well, so look, in order to truly be a human-centric organization, we need to actually understand how people operate in the context of getting work done. And historically, we haven't been doing that. We've had this bias towards a business-centric, or what I think of as an accounting-centric view of running companies. Like, we tend to think in terms of org charts and business units, profit centers, formal vertical silos. And the thing is that people are social. And the dynamic cross-functional teams of people who do the sorts of things that move the needle for companies, like, they don't show up on any work charts. So in order to truly optimize our greatest asset, our people, to actually make sure that everybody is seen, heard, valued, supported, what we need to do is move away from thinking and analyzing boxes on an org chart or functions in the company and actually look at the organizations through the lens of humans doing work together.
Love it. And we have a very interesting term that's popped up, stealth influencers. Tell us more about who these people are and how businesses identify them and how they differ from, say, self-promoters.
Let me take a step back and tell you a story. So back in 2014, I suddenly found myself as head of people at a rapidly growing technology company that I founded. And what I did is I asked a team of engineers to connect to all of our internal systems and to actually show me who is working together in real time. So they went away for a couple of weeks and they connected to Calendar, Slack, email, Jira, GitHub, basically all of the places where work was happening. And they built me the first version of the Performica org graph. And let me tell you, the first time I saw it, I actually didn't believe it. I assumed there was a bug in the code, and I wasted about a week of the team's time trying to track down a bug that didn't exist. And when they came back to me and told me that, no, Alex, there is no bug, this is what it is, it turned out that about half of the most important people in the organization were people whose names I didn't know, or in some cases who I knew but thought of as these kinds of smart but quiet, quote unquote, non-leaders. While in reality, they were actually leading and influencing, and everybody around them knew that, and everybody came to them. But management didn't know, I didn't know. So we were systematically underappreciating them. And at the same time, most of the world out there, we were over-promoting and over-celebrating the people who actually did a very good job promoting and celebrating themselves. So at the end of the day, our squeakiest wheels were, in fact, getting all the grease. And worth mentioning, the stealth influencer group, it was a very, very diverse group. Like, there were some quiet men in there, but it mostly wasn't the straight white guys who were doing great work and being unrecognized. And when I saw this, I had very mixed feelings, because on one hand, it was a massively humbling moment for me. Like it made it really, really clear that we are part of a problem, that I am part of a problem. And it turns out that, again, much of the kinds of systemic biases that we try to fight in orgs, they really just come from this premium we place on effective self-promotion. But on the other hand, though, I also knew that I was staring at the beginning of a solution to what's an important and a global problem for, well, all of corporate world.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, talk to us about people data-driven companies and how they're benefiting in ways other companies are clearly not right now.
So again, we all know that people are our single biggest asset. Right? So for most companies we work with, anywhere between 75 to 85% of the expenses go to things like payroll, office space, travel, and entertainment. Basically, people-related spend. Now, incidentally, people are also our biggest liability. And many of us have seen this. When culture is sour, when companies go bad, our top performers start leaving in networks, it's hard to attract talent. And altogether, this can create this like absolutely crippling situation for organizations. But truly knowing your people and how they work, it's like, I think of it as a superpower. So, for example, a recent customer of ours that is going through significant change management as we speak was able to, with our help, identify literally 24 people in a company of thousands that were driving about 50% of the sentiment and engagement organization-wide. So we were able to then work with our senior leadership team to really, really target their interventions through that group of influential people to basically reach the entirety of the organization. And we're currently seeing like massive, very measurable positive effects.
Yeah, well, that's what we want. We want that data, Alex. You know, at the end of the day, that's what we're mapping to. That's what seems to, especially now, matter most. I tell you, what I see is companies will sometimes load up employees, especially managers, with data, but never explain how to take that data and put it into understandable chunks and actionable steps. What is the workaround to change this? And how can companies and people that struggle with understanding people analytics overcome this problem?
So I think what you just spelled out is the single biggest problem in HR tech, broadly speaking. And when I started doing this work all of these years ago, I naively thought that the end result was going to be this like exquisite set of dashboards, like business intelligence, if you will, that smart and empowered people leaders are going to use to make better decisions. And in real life, it turns out that like the last thing we needed was more dashboards. We were already drowning in dashboards. And we had this team of like awesome and inspired people doing their best for their customers and their colleagues, but they're also like busy and distracted. And they simply didn't have the time to go on these like extended data exploration journeys. And this is something that I got wrong for years. And fundamentally, I think this is the explanation behind what I feel is this like massive last mile problem in people analytics. We do these wonderful things with data. We run models. We can predict things. We can predict important things. But so far, we haven't, broadly speaking, connected that data to outcomes for companies. It's very, very difficult to bring that data to bear on actually making teams better and making people better consistently. And this is why fundamentally Performica is not an analytics system. It has an incredibly powerful analytics engine that powers a decision support system. Like Performica exists to help our customers actually execute effective human-centric people management, like consistently over time. And we do that through workflows and automations and alerts, through basically helping people do the right things at the right time with the right people.
Yeah, well, talk about mystifying, right? Like, here's a question that has mystified many for many years. What obstacles keep people from doing their best work, and how do we remove these roadblocks?
Well, so this is like the biggest question in the world, and we could talk about this for hours, but I think an important aspect of it, and certainly like the low-hanging fruit, if you will, is like what we need to be happy and productive. And here, like study after study shows that in order for us to be happy, engaged, and do good work, we only really need three things. We need to know that we're doing meaningful work, that we're making an impact. We need to know that we're doing it with great people in the context of psychological safety. And we need to know that we're being treated and compensated fairly by the organization. So it's like meaning and impact, teamwork, and fairness. Line those three things up and everything gets better. And what I think of as one of the greatest tragedies of like HR or people managers, if you will, is that over and over again, I see wonderful companies with awesome missions, employing great people who are getting paid well for the work they do. But at the same time, everybody feels incredibly disconnected from the organization, from the customer, from the decision-making process. Everything is opaque. There isn't a sense of fairness. People feel like they're these like cogs in some machine that are unheard and underappreciated, even though actually what they're doing is great. And in my experience, much of this is an information problem. So again, our aim at Performica is to help companies like really understand how work is happening and who the key people are in every part of the organization, and then empower them to create these wonderful working environments for their employees, removing systemic bias along the way. And when you see it at work, when you help people connect to the mission and the customer and to each other and feel good about their organization, like seeing that actually start to happen is pure magic.
Oh my gosh, totally. And I mean, that's the goal. If you're out there listening in today, we want to hear from you. I have to tell you, Alex, in planning for this podcast, we came across something really interesting called the 6 types of working geniuses. In a nutshell, there's 6 identifiers of workplace strengths. Knowledgeable employers will leverage these by helping employees identify their superpower. So let's take this scenario and talk about how tech intersects and helps here. I know our audience would appreciate your thoughts on this. And by the way, the 6 types of working geniuses: discernment, enablement, galvanizing, invention, tenacity, and wonder. Talk to us about this.
No, and wonder, by the way, is my favorite part. Like that is what drives me. Again, I think the key here for organizations, step one is for organizations to try to move from this like role-centric, like box on the org chart-centric view of a company to a truly human-centric one. We do a lot of fitting round pegs into square holes in corporate America and frankly in the rest of the corporate world. And once you understand your people and once you understand how your teammates are truly interacting, what it actually empowers you to do is start designing the right roles for the right people, try to actually like optimize the human potential of the people on the team. Once you can look at information spread, innovation, optimism, how all of these effects like spread in these networks through the org graph, what you can do is you can start identifying people's strengths and you can start giving them the right kind of support, the right kind of training, leadership training, the right kinds of projects to again help them be the work geniuses that we all have in us. I fundamentally believe that there's very few bad people out there. Like most people have potential in us if we're inspired and supported. And I think a lot of this like tragedy of wasted potential, and I use the word tragedy very specifically here because I think much of it is very, very avoidable, is that we're kind of force-fitting people into roles and into silos where we don't have to be. And as soon as we start treating people as individuals and designing to that, we can truly let them shine.
Oh, for sure. And we're all experiencing that, especially if you're remote working. I mean, add that complex layer on top of this, and we really have to make not being in a silo a priority. And I truly believe that. I'm also seeing that. So I'm with you. Like, we got to keep working towards it. Tell the audience how your company, Performica, is helping brands use and manage their people data to gain an advantage in recruiting and talent management right now.
So again, when a customer joins the Performica platform, a couple of things happen in succession. So the first thing that happens is we build the organizational graph. So again, we help our customers have this like exquisitely detailed real-time understanding of how work actually gets done. And then once that's in place, and that, by the way, as of itself is immediately useful. Like this experience I've had of looking at this just as a visualization and realizing that I had a skewed view of a workforce, that there's all of these key individuals that we don't know about. This is a universal experience. Every single customer of ours goes through this. And then once this data foundation foundation is in place, once the analytics foundation is in place, we then equip them with these decision support systems and workflows that help them truly listen to their employees and optimize their communication and understand engagement and disengagement. And we start proactively working with managers to prevent attrition. And this, again, fundamentally makes for a better environment for the employees, makes everybody feel seen and heard. And as a result, magic starts happening. Right? Magic starts happening on the DEI front because, again, we help our customers identify those with leadership potential or maybe already in these informal leadership positions. That is a much more diverse group than is typical for organizations. Attrition starts going down, and our attrition management program demonstrates this. And as a result, companies get better. Employees feel more included, feel a part of something greater than themselves. And this has two basic knockdown effects. One is sheer productivity. Things happen better and faster. But also the employer brand starts strengthening significantly, and that helps companies both retain and attract talent.
All right. Well, time is flying here, Alex. We are on our final question. I can't believe it. Let's talk about the future. What will the next generation of people analytics look like in, say, 10 years from now? Where are we going with all this?
So look, I don't have a crystal ball, but with that caveat aside, I think I am seeing a number of trends that I do expect to continue well into the next 10 years. One is, again, moving away from an accounting-based view of organizations and into a people-based view of organizations. So less org charts, more org graphs. Another is, and I spoke to this earlier, moving away from a business intelligence dashboard-heavy approach from analytic systems towards decision support systems that empower people leaders to take the right actions in a targeted way at the right time with the right people. If you think about what decision support systems did in the clinical space, an area where I have a whole bunch of experience, it's been absolutely transformative. It's hard to think of more busy and distracted people in modern America than hospital administrators and doctors who are seeing tons of patients, who are overworked, who face all of these pressures. And these decision support systems empower them to actually move the needle on health and wellness for a population in a way that's frankly inspiring. And I think we're going to see the same thing in HR analytics.
Love it. Well, on that note, thanks so much for stopping by, Alex. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you so much for having me. I can talk about this for hours.
Thanks for listening to the Work Trends Podcast, your favorite source for all that's new and exciting in the world of work. If you love what we do here, make sure to share this podcast with everybody you know. And don't forget to tune in for our next episode. Catch up with you next time. Thanks to listening to Work Trends from Talent Culture. Join us every Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern for a live Twitter chat with our podcast guest. To learn more about guests featured on today's show, visit the show notes for this episode at talentculture.com and help us spread the word. Subscribe to Work Trends wherever you listen to podcasts. Leave us a rating, review in iTunes. Share Work Trends with your coworkers, your friends. Look forward to it. See you next time.